Hey, good morning, everybody. Kevin Shortell here, and it is Wednesday, June 17th. Welcome to another Water Cooler Wednesday. I've got another great topic for you today, one that really can save you tens of thousands of dollars. And I've seen this over and over again where people make this same mistake, and it's so easy to correct. It really is so easy to correct, but most people simply aren't aware. And what happens is, as time goes by, you're just losing more and more and more money. So you don't obviously want to do that. Now, this one really comes from people who do seller financing. Okay, so there's a lot of note creators today, which is a part of the note business. They are ones who typically find property, maybe take a loan, maybe they don't, and then they sell the property with financing to another party. If there's an underlying loan, that's created on a wrap mortgage. If there's no underlying loan, then it's just a first position lien. So either way, they've created a seller finance loan. When you create a seller finance loan, you have the option of servicing that loan yourself or having a licensed bonded servicing company do it. I always choose the licensed bonded company for a multitude of reasons. And I wrote an article, as a matter of fact, which I post on social media, which you can go back and read, where I list several different reasons. But for the licensing alone, the debt collection, for of the law where you have to send certain notifications that are federally required. A lot of people don't do it because they don't know about it. And one of the bigger things too is the accounting of it, and the taxes and handling of that. So one of the hidden things in all of this is how to handle the monthly payments that come in. So a lot of people who are not familiar with seller financing will simply treat the loan payments almost like rent. As long as it comes in every month, we're all good. Okay. For a landlord, that may be the case. Maybe there's a late fee, maybe there's not, that sort of thing. That may be the case. And if you're a note investor, you might look at it the same way and go, well, if it comes in the month, if they don't come in on time, there's a late fee. But there's more than that. See, that's the problem. Rent is very, very different than people making payments on an amortized loan. And it's got to be held, but you've got to do the proper accounting on it. Okay. And that software that you're using as a landlord is not going to do it. The amortization schedule is not going to do it. It needs to be a professional company that can handle, or software that can handle the proper accounting. Otherwise, it is going to silently be just taking money out of your pocket every single month to the 10. By the time that loan gets paid off, you'll have lost tens of thousands of dollars and never even realized it. Okay. It is the silent interest rate, interest return killer in this business, and most people just don't know about it. Okay. So I'm going to give you part of a presentation that I'm putting together for my members. They'll get the entire presentation, obviously. But I wanted to give everybody, social media and the industry, and everybody who watches this program, wanted to give you some insight into this, so you can definitely learn how to avoid these mistakes here. So let me go ahead and open up the PowerPoint, and we will get going here. So I'm going to share this. Okay, so one of the things we do when we buy a note, whether it's been bank originated, went non-performing, and now it's reperforming and sold, or it comes from the seller finance world, we always look at payment history. So again, one of the mistakes that people make who self-service loans, their payment history is checks, deposits that go in. There's no real accounting to it. I've seen some people just take an amortization schedule and write the date when things were paid, that sort of stuff. You're setting yourself up for failure when you do it that way. You're not enhancing the value of your note. You're actually taking away from the value of the note. But that being aside, I'm going to use an absolute real case study on a deal that I was looking on last week and show you how much they've already lost on this deal because they didn't account for it properly. So the scenario is this: the original purchase price was $107,000 on this property. The borrowers put $5,000 down, so they created a $102,400 note. The difference, right? Very simple. We all understand that. Since it's seller financing, it's not at a bank interest rate. So the interest rate was written already at 10%, which a lot of seller finance investors do. That makes the payment just over $1,100. And the monthly payment was to start on March 2nd, 2023, and it's got a 15-year maturity. That's what we're starting with. That's the core of the deal that they put together. Now, first thing, when real estate investors put these together, they're somehow under the impression that if they just put the interest rate at 10 to 12%, they won't have to take a discount because that's what note investors are looking for. That is false. That is wrong. And anybody who's buying it that way does not understand the note business. Anybody who's selling it that way does not understand the note business and the very concepts of time value, of money, opportunity cost, and everything else that goes into pricing these things. So that's number one. So, okay. This is what it is. And now, in lieu of a down payment that would be sizable, this is a smaller down payment, we start to really turn our focus on, well, what have they done? How have they performed on this loan since March of 2023? So, as these payments come in, and you're tracking that, okay, so if you're self-servicing this loan, the payments are coming direct to you, and you're going, oh, man, I'm saving $25 a month on servicing fees. Okay, that's what you've decided to do. Now, when that payment comes in the contracts itself, in the note, in the security agreement, whether that's a contract for deed or whether that's a mortgage or a deed of trust, in the context of that note and the supporting document of the collateral, it will tell you in there how that monthly payment is applied. Okay? Because the monthly payment is a couple of ingredients. It's not just like rent where it's one payment. The monthly payments on these loans is principal and interest. Now, it might have taxes and insurance, but that's not our money. That's escrowed. Keep that out of the equation. Principal and interest is what makes up these loans. And because they are amortized, the application of that changes every month as the balance starts to go down. All right. So when a monthly payment comes in, to properly account for it, you have to understand in very easy terms that it just jumped ahead on me. Let me go back here. When the payments come in, interest gets paid first, then principal. And I bet if you asked anybody that, yeah, we know that. What's your point? That's simple. Everybody knows. Everybody knows that. And that's why it's on the amortization schedule and it applies right there. Here's the rub though. Amortization schedules are not a payment schedule. An amortization schedule is a projection of where that loan will be at any point in time if they follow the exact schedule. So if your amortization schedule says the payments are due on the first of the month and they pay on the first of the month, every month for 15 years, it'll come out exactly. That's what the amortization projection schedule is what they should call it. That's what the amortization projection schedule is all about. But when someone gets away from that schedule, then the balances are not going to match the amortization schedule, number one. So if somebody's paying extra principal every month, that's going to change the schedule, right? It's the same thing happens if somebody pays late on a loan. Because now what happens is they pay more in interest than principal. Why? Because even though the payments are monthly, better way to state it, even though the payments are scheduled on a monthly basis, there's a daily fee on the interest rate. So as somebody gets further away from the first of the month, if that's when the payment is due, there's still an internal interest rate clock running versus if they paid, let's say, at the end of the month. That same payment that came in that month is applied differently. It's not applied like the amortization schedule shows. That's if they paid on the first of the month. They paid on the 30th. So more of that payment goes to interest than principal. That's where seller finance people who don't account for this the right way because they're trying to save $25 a month, that's where they get burned. but they never see it. They go, monthly payments coming in. Okay. And it doesn't matter if it's on the 1st, the 15th, the 20th, the 30th, the monthly payment came in, check it off. You're losing money. Okay. Let me show you how that works here. So if you're treating them like a tenant, you could just have some combined running balance of where they are and charge the late fees and everything else, and they catch up, and then the late fee comes in a little bit later, and you're just tracking all that. You're not tracking the interest in the principal properly. And that's what's eating you up on these things. There's a gap that starts to grow. And that's why, again, it's that kind of silent killer because you don't see it coming. But every month, as they're paying late, it starts to grow and grow and grow. Now project that out to 15 years and you're losing tens of thousands of dollars. Let me show you exactly how this works, applying it to that same loan. So that same loan that started in March of 2023, as of January 2026, so we're almost looking at about 3 years, 2024, 25, yeah, about 3 years right in there, right? The standard amortization schedule from when they started the loan to where it should be in January 2026 is $93,060. Okay. So in other words, if I go back a couple slides and we look at this original loan here, and you were to put that in your financial calculator and you were going to say, okay, $102,400, that's my present value, 10% interest, payments are 1,140 cents. And then you solve it, you'll have 15 years. And then you put in there, this is how many payments have been made. And you're looking for that balance as of January 2026. It's going to tell you it should be $93,060. Now, in this loan that I'm referring to, they did make payments every month with one exception. There was one month where they missed a payment, but they caught up in the following month. That might have happened twice now that I think of it, once or twice over that 3 year period. But they were late a bunch. Okay. They were late quite a bit. So what happens to where the balance is? It no longer, as I said earlier, it no longer matches that amortization schedule. In fact, when I took that and I did more like a forensic accounting and said, nope, do the numbers the right way, the actual payment pattern that this borrower has been making makes the balance $97,020. That's almost a $4,000 difference that this current note owner has no idea about. They think the balance, and they're selling this note with a current balance of $93,060. It's not. It's $97,000. They just lost $4,000 in the course of 3 years. It's significant. And that's why, again, when I hear people argue, yeah, I don't pay a servicing company, I'm not going to pay 25, 30 bucks a month. I'm going to self-service it, save myself some money. And then they do stuff like this. You would have paid in 3 years a servicing company way, way less than that amount of money, right? If you're paying like 250 bucks a year, whatever that comes out to, 7, 8, 9, 1,000 bucks, $1,200, let's call it, versus a $4,000 mistake that you've made. Okay. Okay. So that's where the loan would be. So your long-term risk, how does that come into this question? Well, it's a very basic question. What happens if you keep that current flawed accounting system that you're using for the full term of this loan? In other words, let's take what you've done, how you're accounting for this, and let's just project it out. And when I did this, I said, I'm going to keep a similar pattern because that, after all, that's what we see. When people are constantly late, guess what? If you buy that note, they don't suddenly change and pay on the first of the month every month. No, they're going to constantly be late. Okay, just like they have. So the patterns typically don't change that much. So if we look at the track record for the 3 years and then simply do a projection to say, what if this pattern continues and this person held this note and they were using the wrong accounting, what would this end up looking like? Okay, well, I'll show you. So depending upon when the payments come in and how late, so I wanted to give it some range here, the unpaid balance, okay, so projected results at maturity here, right? The unpaid balance would have been loss of, yeah, $18,000 to $20,000 off. Principal balance never fully paid down. Okay. So 18 to $28,000 there just on your unpaid principal that you forgave. Okay. Loss of interest, $10 to $15,000. That's interest that you should have earned. But because you had that lower principal balance over time, you were earning less interest on that note than you were rightfully entitled to. So the total financial impact is somewhere, again, depending upon how late, between $28,000 and $43,000 combined loss on principal and interest. Yeah, your loan paid off. It went to maturity March 2038. You're going, yeah, loan paid off, paid right. They paid every month. And they did, but you didn't account for it the right way. So you end up losing 28 to $43,000 over that period of time. Simple accounting. So you need to use either a software program that will account for it the right way with daily interest based upon when that monthly payment comes in. All right. Or, you know what? Do what professional note investors do and hire a professional licensed servicing company that will account for all of this and do it the right way. Plus, they'll handle the late fees. Plus, they'll handle the phone calls, or letters that they have to send out. Plus, they'll make sure they send the tax forms. You've been sending wrong tax forms to the people as well. Right? Because they didn't pay as much interest as you've been giving them credit for. So it's really look, this is something that will just eat you up. So imagine you have not just this one note. Imagine if you have a portfolio of 10 notes. Now you're out somewhere between 30 and or 300,000 and $400,000. Okay. It makes a big, big impact there. So, in summary, then, if you're going to continue to self-service these things, get yourself a program that will account for this. The amortization schedule is a projection when the loan starts. Okay. Then you have what's the reality on the other side. The reality is when these payments come in, if there's late, automatically more is going towards interest mathematically than principal. And you've got to account for that or you're looking at losing tens of thousands of dollars. So that is your water cooler Wednesday for today, a little shorter than usual. I realize that, but very, very significant and important. And I wanted to leave you, like I said, that's just a snippet of a whole presentation I'm putting together for my clients because I meet with them every other Wednesday night and cover, some of these concepts that come up. I mean, this is something that I've seen over and over again, but I'm just looking at a recent deal and I said, this deal, I've just got to run the numbers. I got to project this out and really show everybody how impactful this is and how foolish it is to be, just giving that amount of money away on a deal where they didn't have to. Simple math. If you're interested in joining my membership, please go to kevinshortell.com. Check it out. I have different levels of membership, anything from education only to personally working with me one-on-one, and for even investing with you and finding deals for you as well, coming in as a note investment partner, a joint venture on a deal. So I've got a lot of different levels that I can work with you on. But these are the kind of things that we address, and these are the details that really make the difference between a successful note investor or simply a tire kicker, or somebody gets in and tries it and go, yeah, the business isn't for me. Well, yeah, unfortunately, you probably weren't trained the right way. And it makes a big difference, when you find these things out. So check that out, kevinshortell.com. Remember, that's KEVINSHORTLE.com. You can also check out the YouTube channel where I put my tip of the days on there as well. There's probably 700-800 videos on that. And I'm on X and LinkedIn and all that other good stuff. So you want to reach out, just shoot me an email, Kevin@kevinshortell.com, and I'll keep bringing you good content like this. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you again soon.